Good evening and welcome to the news. For the next hour and a half, we'll be in different parts of the country, taking views, previews and reviews of stories and events which shape our daily lives. We'll be observing issues on the front burner with a third eye on details, giving you fresh angles on unfolding events and new perspectives on recurring issues. Tonight, a new time in the mining industry as Ministry revokes 924 licenses. Military operations, Army and Air Force launch offensives against outlaws in Southeast and Northwest. On the anti-corruption war, EFCC says it will carry out its mandate without fear or favor, encourages persons of interest to honor invitation. And it is the season of examinations to tertiary institutions. To some, good marks mean more than the numbers.
I decided to go to school now because all my children are graduated.
We also have our usual packages on the environment, judiciary, health, politics, and sports. Benny Adams is also standing by for tonight's business. It's a loaded shift. But don't take my word for it, as the proof of the pudding is in the eating. I'm Henry John, and this is News Extra. Welcome. The federal government has advised the nation's judiciary to embark on reforms that would ensure a functional justice system that will support and guarantee basic human and political rights of individuals, as well as provide security. Vice President Kashim Shettima gave the charge when he declared open the National Summit on Justice 2024 held at the National Judicial Institute, Abuja. State House correspondent Abdurrahman Jabrila reports.
The first call by the executive to the judicial officers is to align their activities within the tenets of the Renewed Hope agenda, expressing determination to implement policies and promises made to Nigerians. Vice President Kashim Shettima outlined measures put in place to reposition the judiciary to include full complement of the 21 justices of the Supreme Court as required by the law for the first time after many years, and substantial increase in the salaries and emoluments of judges, which is currently undergoing legislative action.
I am, however, not oblivious to the successes and various achievements recorded by justice sector institutions. In this regard, I am fully aware of the long-fought battle and efforts of the Federal Ministry of Justice, which saved the nation from huge financial indebtedness and international embarrassment. I have also noted achievements in the area of legislative reforms, which resulted in the nationwide adoption of the Administration of Criminal Justice Act laws, as well as the nationwide adoption of the Child Rights Act, the enactment of the Police Act and related reforms.
The Vice President said the justice sector leaders and professionals need to find the right responses to the challenges faced through policy innovation and citizen-centered reform. He urged the leadership of all justice sector institutions to seek a new direction and focus on the outcomes of the summit by creating a justice system that truly responds to the needs of Nigerians. Senate President Godswill Akpabio commended the commitment of all stakeholders in the justice sector in building a consensus that will ensure a robust judicial system that guarantees justice for all, irrespective of background and social status.
We are committed to budgeting for the implementation of judicial reforms that will include the adoption of digital tools to manage cases more effectively and ensure that justice is neither delayed nor denied. The journey requires collective effort. So I call upon all stakeholders here today, including my colleagues in both chambers, and including the executive branches, as well as the states, particularly with the presence of the chairman of the Governors Forum, because if the states do not concur, we cannot have any major reform in the Constitution.
The revised draft national policy on justice is aimed at building a national consensus on the advancement of the justice sector towards constitutional statutory and operational reforms, which is imperative in meeting the aspirations and yearnings of the general public. In Abuja, Abraham Jibrila, NTA News.
Meanwhile, the National Council on Privatization has received key recommendations from its committee on a proposed merger of Bank of Agriculture with the Central Bank of Nigeria's Nestle Microfinance Limited and a fresh capital injection to revitalize the bank. Vice President Kashim Shettima at the Second National Council on Privatization meeting of 2024 reiterated President Bola Ahmed Tinubu's commitment to reposition the Bank of Agriculture to drive the administration's food security agenda. Presenting the committee's report, the Minister of Finance and Coordinating Minister of the Economy, Wale Edun, who doubles as NCP Vice Chairman, said the Council's decision was informed by the challenges identified and the need for urgent resolution of the issues confronting the bank. In a move to bring transparency and efficiency to the nation's energy sector, the NCP also noted a proposal seeking approval for the establishment of an independent system operator from the Transmission Company of Nigeria, TCN. NCP Chairman, Vice President Shettima, set up a committee to liaise with the Special Advisor to the President on Energy and the Federal Ministry of Power to provide a roadmap and reach out to stakeholders. On a strategy paper for the optimization of oil and gas assets, the Council formed a committee to look into issues concerning oil and gas infrastructure, stressing the importance of investors in the sector. The committee is given 3 weeks to come up with its report on optimizing the nation's oil and gas assets. Now, President Bola Tinubu in Amsterdam on the invitation of Prime Minister Mark Rutte is set to officially begin his state visit to the Netherlands tomorrow, Thursday. We'll now join our State House correspondent, Musbal Dan Wahab, on the scheduled program of the President and the Kingdom of Netherlands. Musbal, by his itinerary, we understand President Tinubu will engage in high-level discussions with the Prime Minister, as well as hold separate meetings with His Royal Majesty King William Alexander and Queen Maxima of the Kingdom. Any idea into the prospective issues coming up?
Nigeria and the Kingdom of Netherlands to further widen the scope of the bilateral and trade relations between the two countries. And President Bola Tinubu has been moving from one country to the other on investment drive, inviting foreign investors to come and invest in Nigeria. This is apparently one of the reasons why the PM invited President Bola Tinubu to come over to further see new areas of partnership. And going by the account of the Observatory of Economic Complexity, OEC, as at October 2022, the Netherlands exported 892 million euro worth of goods and imported 32 million euro worth of produce from Nigeria, meaning that the Netherlands is one of the largest business partners of Nigeria. Now, one of the top exports of Netherlands into Nigeria has been petroleum products, and now the PM or the authorities in this country are apparently seeing the future of Nigeria cutting down importation of petroleum products into Nigeria because of what the situation we're having in the country now. Remember, Dangote Refinery is now on stream, is operational, and the government indeed is also working to bring some refineries back into operation in the country. So they're looking into new areas, and one of them is the agriculture. This country is doing pretty well in agriculture, high-tech agriculture for that matter. And as a matter of fact, they are the second largest agricultural exporter in the world. So this presents another opportunity for Nigeria that is now willing to invest massively into agriculture. We spoke to the Minister of Foreign Affairs, Yusuf Tuga, on what Nigeria can leverage in this regard.
They have something referred to as the Golden Triangle. So the triangulation of research and development, business, and government. So this is something that, we can leverage off of, because we have this trading relationship, trading and investment going on, so we can strengthen it and increase it.
Now, despite the long-standing relations between Nigeria and the Netherlands, there's not been a basic structure needed for the coordination of the cooperation between the two countries in form of joint binational commission agreement to coordinate the affairs. Now, at ministerial level, this issue has come up and is been discussed. Now, it is suspected that as the two leaders of these countries meet this Thursday, this will be one of the issues to be discussed. Foreign Affairs Minister also spoke to this.
The advantage of having a binational commission is the fact that it's more structured and it's formalized. Instead of just private sector doing their thing, you can also bring in government support to localize some of the activities. Instead of just exporting raw materials to them, we will add value by processing some of these exports locally in Nigeria, which creates the jobs that we need for our growing population and our youth.
Now, apart from the meetings coming up between President Bola Tinubu and the Prime Minister, is also going to meet the King as well as the Queen. But after that, there's going to be a Nigeria-Dutch business forum where investors in these two countries will meet, will interface, and President Bola Tinubu is expected to declare that open. Presidential advisor on media and publicity, Ajuri Ngilale, spoke to us earlier about the priority of Nigeria in this regard.
The core of it is ensuring that whatever investments are coming into the country are in those labor-intensive sectors that will ultimately touch the life of every individual Nigerian citizen. He doesn't want these maybe large-scale capital investments necessarily alone that will be within sectors that are not labor intensive, sectors like oil and gas, sectors like telecoms and some of the others. Those are good, they're important investments, we welcome that money, but he really wants to key into those labor intensive sectors where we can put millions of our people to work on farms across the country with mechanical instrumentation to effectively ensure that their yields are more with less work because of the technological efficiency of the products and instruments that our farmers will be using. And then, of course, the quality of seedlings, making sure that our yields and our produce meets international standards so that when we want to export, we're not being outcompeted by nations that have higher quality seedlings and higher quality soils and the like.
So with all of this coming up on Thursday, the cooperation, the relations between Nigeria and the Kingdom of Netherlands is expected to grow stronger, and the agreements updated to become more handsome and, of course, more rewarding for both countries.
Many thanks, Musbal, for the update. We'll definitely stay with you for more from the Netherlands. Now, back home, President Bola Tinubu has approved the takeoff of the first phase of the Consumer Credit Scheme, which serves as the lifeblood of modern economies, enabling citizens to enhance their quality of life by assessing goods and services upfront, paying responsibly over time. In a statement, the president indicates that the scheme also facilitates crucial purchases such as homes, vehicles, education and healthcare, essentials for ongoing stability to pursue their aspirations through responsible repayment. In the statement, the president believes every hard-working Nigerian should have access to social mobility, with consumer credit playing a pivotal role in achieving this vision. Spelling out the Nigerian Consumer Credit Corporation's mandates to include strengthening Nigeria's credit reporting systems, ensuring every economically active citizen has a dependable credit score, offering credit guarantees and wholesale lending to financial institutions dedicated to broadening consumer credit access and promoting responsible consumer credit as a pathway to an improved quality of life, fostering a cultural shift towards growth and financial responsibility. The statement also notes that in line with the President's directive to expand consumer credit access to Nigerians, the Nigerian Consumer Credit Corporation, a portal for Nigerians to express interest in receiving consumer credit, has been launched. In other news, the federal government is putting plans in place to tackle poverty and insecurity head-on in Nigeria through financial inclusion for all Nigerians. Deputy Chief of Staff to the President, Ibrahim Hassan Hadeja, at a press briefing said there are high-level talks to unveil a roadmap for integrating the unbanked Nigerian population into the formal financial system. This is coming ahead of a national stakeholders workshop on financial inclusion, restating the Tinubu administration's commitment to an all-inclusive Nigeria.
To discuss the modalities of economic and financial inclusion as a panacea for poverty and security challenges in Nigeria. Proposed modalities for transforming to a consumer credit economy for inclusive growth in support of the Renewed Hope agenda. It will also flag off training of financial inclusion agents and experts to address the capacity gap across the 774 local governments in Nigeria.
So financial inclusion is going to be an agenda item at the National Economic Council to ensure that both the federal as well as the subnationals have done their own bits in order to ensure successful implementation of the financial inclusion agenda.
Financial inclusion means that if you are in a village and you need a loan of 10 million, there's someone physically in that village who is competent and has been trained and certified to help you access that kind of financing. That is one of the gaps that the private sector wants to work very closely with this government to make inclusion a reality in practice.
The two-day workshop scheduled for Thursday, April 25 and Friday, April 26, 2024 at the banquet hall of the Presidential Villa aims to sensitize stakeholders and chart a course for celebrating financial inclusion efforts nationwide. Elsewhere, the Senate Committee on Capital Market has engaged stakeholders towards boosting export of agricultural products. The meeting, attended by Minister of State Agriculture and Food Security, Sabi Abdullahi, dwelt on leveraging Nigeria's agro potential to increase revenue through export of raw materials.
What we are doing right now is to find ways to further improve on our capacity to produce. So we are amping up dry season farming. We are also providing more support to farmers now so that more farmers will be incentivized to go back to land. And we are also looking at the possibility of many of our institutions that have land, which they can also bring into production. So these and many more are the things we are doing. And of course, the President is also upbeat about our low mechanization. And so we are having programs to deal with increasing our mechanization.
Chairman of the Senate Committee on Capital Markets, Senator Osita Izunonso, says Nigeria's commodity exchange market should be critically assessed for standardization.
Commodities in Nigeria should pass through the commodity exchange as a way of getting revenue for the country. And why are we doing more of importing finished products and also exporting finished products? We should be able to deal with the issues of exporting the finished product instead of exporting our raw material. Even in crude, we export crude only for us to bring it back into the country as a finished product. That should stop.
The issues that have to do with the legal framework was discussed extensively, and how to make amendments to legal framework to forestall leakages in Nigeria's revenue space, and also the issue that has to do with exports. How do we ramp up exports? How do we create an enabling environment for ease of doing business in the agri space?
Meanwhile, the Senate Ad Hoc Committee on Turnaround Maintenance of Nigerian Refineries has assured Nigerians that the nation's refineries will commence operation before the end of the year. The committee, led by Senator Ifeanyi Uba, paid a courtesy call on Governor Sheriff Oborevwori during their oversight function. Tessie Koka brings us details.
The Senate Ad Hoc Committee on Turnaround Maintenance and Oversight Function are in Delta State to look at the rehabilitation of refineries.
We are here on an oversight function
to look into the issues surrounding the rehabilitation of Nigerian refineries, issues surrounding crude oil theft, how we can maximize the output of Nigerian crude oil. We are also here to see how we can support issues that has to do with downstream, upstream, Niger Delta affairs.
For Governor Sheriff Oborevwori, all hands must be on deck to ensure the refineries work again and save the nation from the burden of fuel importation.
This assignment is not a jamboree. It's an assignment with seriousness, and I believe that with your oversight function and the right thing is done, and our refineries are put in place, the issue of fuel importation, that will put an end to it. Because it's costing us a lot, and we are buying this fuel with dollar. And we're having challenge with issue of the forest. So if our refineries are working and things are going very well, it also boosts the economy of this country.
The ad hoc committee on turnaround maintenance of Nigerian refineries continues its oversight function across the country. In Asaba, Tessie Koka, NTA News.
A strong alert from Dele Alake to 924 dormant license owners as their mandate to the mining site has been revoked, and for them to get admission back to site, 10 million naira debit from their accounts in favor of the federal government of Nigeria. This was the content of a press briefing by the Minister of Solid Minerals Development, Dele Alake, in Abuja.
Nigeria, a country re-engineering the wheels of its economy, pushing the solid mineral sector to take a prominent place, and the man pushing the wheels hard on behalf of the federal government. Dealing squarely with the stakeholders, leaving the comfort of the office, engaging them on site. The carrot and stick approach works for him. So, in November 2023, the stick fell on 1,663 dormant licenses as they were revoked. And today, April 24, 2024, the same stick is out from its waiting room as Alake sends an alert to 924 owners of licenses.
Although a total of 963 licenses were published and notified of the threat of revocation, no fewer than 39 either moved to site immediately or convinced the authorities of the challenges which hindered the operations. In view of the above, which shows our adherence with due process and fair consideration, and in line with the standard policy of use it or lose it, I hereby revoke the 924 dormant licenses with immediate effect.
In all, 2,587 licenses revoked, but the revocation is not a cast in stone.
Whoever wants to go back to that site or to have his revoked license reinstated must make restitution to the federal government of Nigeria, the highest, which is the mining license, by paying a fine of 10 million naira to the government. Now, for the small-scale licenses, it will be 7.5 million. And for the exploration license, EL, it will be 5 million.
These pronouncements were made right here at the ministry's headquarters in Abuja. Licenses revoked, fines charged on them. But they have just 30 days, that is 1 month, to redeem their payments. Or else they just have to quit the mining environment. And according to the minister, to give some space for more serious investors to come into the sector instead of those carrying only portfolios. In Abuja, Mie Ogidi, NTA News.
Many thanks, Mia. Now, the federal government announces the appointment of 5 new charge d'affaires and 12 consuls general to the country's mission to some countries across the world. In a statement by the Minister of Foreign Affairs, Yusuf Tuga charged them to be good ambassadors of Nigeria, noting that their appointments are pivotal to the economic drive of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, and further stressed that as seasoned career diplomats, they should shun the act of politicking and recommit themselves to their calling of diplomacy for the collective interest and development of Nigeria. The just appointed Consul General for the Consulate in New York, Ambassador Abubakar Jida, reiterated the commitment of his colleagues to uphold the ethos of the profession and pledged to bring the much-needed investments to the country. Now time for a break. Please stay. Thank you for staying. The Federal Ministry of Information and National Orientation has vowed to promote and join efforts to defend the rights of persons living with disabilities. The Minister of Information and National Orientation, Mohammed Idris, at an engagement with the Executive Secretary of the National Commission for Persons Living with Disabilities, James Lalu, ordered the setting up of a 5-man member committee under the ministry to boost efforts and further harness the potentials of persons living with disabilities. He assured that the rights and dignity of more than 35 million persons living with disabilities will be propagated through public enlightenment.
The case for people with disability so that they can all have the right to exist without any form of discrimination, without any form of molestation, without any form of disadvantage being placed on them, especially in the area of public enlightenment, public education, as far as the rights and privileges of people living with disability, so that you can have a feeling of inclusion, and not just have the feeling, also have that inclusion that you all require for the benefit of all Nigerians.
Nobody work with the eyes, with the ears, or the leg, but the work comes from the brain. That is where the determination comes, where we think, where we can be able to be very, very productive. Excellency, when you look at all of the disability community have a lot to offer.
The minister assured to engage relevant stakeholders, including the sub-national governments, to fast-track the implementation of the disability law. Now, a 2-year project to strengthen implementation of SGD 10 and 17 for disability inclusion in Nigeria has ended. Elizabeth Omori reports that the National Commission for Persons with Disabilities benefited from the intervention of the Human Rights Inclusion Empowerment Trust Fund through the World Bank.
The 2-year project aided financial and technical assistance, knowledge exchange, as well as stakeholders' engagements to enhance the disability ecosystem of Nigeria for inclusivity. Senior Social Development Specialist of the World Bank explains that the partnership afforded key actors in disability matters to drive economic empowerment, social protection, and participation of members of the disability community.
We firstly supported the Commission in developing about 9 operational policies and guidelines. We also supported them in developing a needs assessment plan, that will help them looking at now and future.
To address the plight of the demographic concerned, the Commission reiterated the need for continuation of the project as Nigeria is opened to such support.
World Bank have the capacity to stimulate disability inclusion development in Nigeria. Mainstreaming disability in World Bank programs and projects has been ongoing. That may not really be enough. However, one thing we stand to believe is that bringing out a standalone for disability inclusive development program can be very, very meaningful.
There's need to provide huge grants to financial institutions and similar private sectors so that they could use to mainstream disability inclusion into their workplace.
Data collection and management, as well as digital inclusion, were some of the areas highlighted needing attention. They recommend production of assistive devices locally and implementation of national accessibility regulations. Elizabeth Omori, NTA News.
Let's now talk education as Registrar, Joint Admission Matriculation Examination Board, Professor Ishaq Oloyede says the mega IBTC centers in Kaduna have enhanced the Universal Tertiary Matriculation Examination regulation standard. He stated this while monitoring the JAMB examination in Kaduna. Mohammed Umar Ajingi reports.
This is the newly built JAMB Mega Hall in the heart of Kaduna State, which is the largest in Africa. It has 4 CBT centers accommodating 1,000 students per sitting. The center, provided by the Joint Admission and Matriculation Board, is fully equipped with a state-of-the-art facility for the smooth conduct of the JAMB examination. The JAMB registrar is here to monitor the conduct of the examination in this hall as the students sit comfortably writing their exams.
If you see the rate of clearing now, look at the biometrics, how fast it is. It's part of the re-engineering that we have done. As we go on, even today I've seen what we can improve on in terms of the test development. I've seen 1 or 2 errors that we can perfect. But more importantly, we have done some other things at the background that I'm not prepared to say that makes me very happy. I can tell you that, for example, if we are to set questions, it takes up 4 hours, 3 hours, but now it takes up 20 minutes.
A total of 1.94 million candidates are sitting for this examination this year, hoping to round up on the 29th of this month. In Kaduna, I am Muhammad Umar Ajingi, NTA News.
Staying with the JAMB examination, it is rightly said, never stop learning, no matter your age, because life is the teacher that gives us the opportunity to learn new things every day. And we all know that through learning, we get the knowledge to face challenges we come across. Now, this session is a life story of a 46-year-old mother of 2 who has conquered fears of uncertainty and decided to head back to the classroom by sitting for the 2024 Unified Tertiary Matriculation Examination. Olayinka Ojo shares her story.
Most secondary school students look forward to the day they will secure admission into a tertiary institution. And one sure way for this is the Unified Tertiary Matriculation Examination, which paves way for the pursuit of many.
There wasn't any challenge. Everything went smoothly.
Examination went well. Systems were okay.
I had no problems with the exam itself, but the timing isn't very nice.
The 2024 UTME exercise is ongoing across the country. Although the exercise has witnessed a few hitches, it has so far received commendations from stakeholders.
I've seen an effort, most importantly, to completely, or to the barest minimum, eliminate examination malpractice.
And I believe it is the use of technology that has enabled that to happen.
Everybody is doing what is expected to do.
While monitoring the exercise, I came across this 46-year-old woman, Teresa Ngozi, who is sitting for the examination. Her story is interesting. She told me she first sat for her SSC in 1997, but was not successful. Then came marriage.
I decided to go to school now because all my children they are graduated.
Marriage, according to her, hindered her academic pursuit as she had to take care of her children. And because there is no limit to acquiring tertiary education, she decided to take another SSC, thanks to her university graduate children who tutored her.
2 years ago, I went back for another WAEC, and it was fine.
Now she's sitting for the 2024 UTME and hopes to study early childhood education at the University of Nigeria, Nsukka.
It may likely take me to abroad because that's what both people always love. Those that will raise up their children for them.
Although her children may be her seniors academically, she remains their dean in the Faculty of Life and Family.
As I wish her good luck in this endeavor, her parting words to others like her is, don't let that dream of education to die. Olayinka Ojo, NTA News.
Great dream. Wishing Teresa the very best. Now looking at other issues, Ambassador of Nigeria to the World Trade Organization, WTO, Adamu Mohammed Abdul Hamid, has been elected as the chairperson of the WTO Trade Policy Review Body for the 2024-2025 period. A statement from the Federal Ministry of Industry, Trade and Investment indicates that he takes over 24th April 2024 at the WTO, Geneva, Switzerland. Prior to his role, Dr. Abdulhamid served as the acting head charge d'affaires of Nigeria's trade office to the WTO in Geneva, Switzerland. His extensive experience in world trade matters and trade negotiations spans 28 years. Notably, he was also the campaign coordinator for Dr. Ngozi Okonjo-Iweala during her bid for the position of WTO Director General. Additionally, under the leadership of Dr. Ngozi Okonjo-Iweala, the WTO has elected Dr. Adamu Mohammed Abdul Hamid as the chairman of the Trade Facilitation Committee from 2022 to 2023. This appointment reflects Nigeria's commitment to advancing its trade relations on the global stage. As the new chairperson of the WTO Trade Policy Review Body, Dr. Abdul Hamid will play a crucial role in overseeing the review of trade policies and practices of WTO member countries. His leadership will also contribute to shaping international trade policies and promoting fair and transparent trade practices worldwide. Now, before the last 2 years, secondary schools in the country could be described as orphans. This is because while UBEC, NUC and NCCE were there for primary and tertiary institutions, the secondary schools had regulator. Now, that the National Commission for Senior Secondary Education has come on board and it's poised to give facelift to dilapidated public secondary schools in the country. This is coming from the Executive Secretary of the Commission, Dr. Yela Ajayi, who visited Nasarawa State Ministry of Education and Government College, Nasarawa, as a pilot of the intervention project. The report.
Although education is in the concurrent list that state and federal governments share responsibilities, government at the center manages only 112 unity schools, while the bulk is owned by states. But many of the state-owned schools are demanding serious attention due to their dilapidated state. This informed the intervention by the federal government through the National Senior Secondary Education to select 50 schools for rehabilitation, and Government College Nasarawa, a first-generation secondary school in the country, falls within the first category to enjoy the gesture. The team's first point of call was Nasarawa State Ministry of Education, and the Permanent Secretary, Muhammad Sani Bala, was on ground to receive the entourage.
And I'm happy to inform you, sir, that Nasarawa State is among the beneficiaries. And the school that has been selected for this purpose is Government College Nasarawa. This is just the first phase. We are using this as pilot study, and I want to assure you that subsequently more schools will benefit from the federal government intervention.
The team also visited the Government College Nasarawa and was received by the principal.
From the month of June, of course, the consultant, the contractors, all of them will be on ground. And all I'm asking him to do is that they should give the contractor maximum cooperation.
It's a worthy partnership, and we'll give all the necessary support to ensure that we have a smooth sail as far as the delivery of this intervention, and very many to come.
The National Senior Secondary Education Commission, a newly established regulatory body, has the mandate to reform the subsector in the country.
Still on education, prenatal reading, which involves pregnant women reading to their unborn babies, has been revealed as a good way to imbibe the reading culture in children. This was as the Nigerian Copyright Commission marks this year's World Book and Copyright Day in honor of Professor Wole Soyinka, who they refer to as the tallest Iroko tree in the forest of literature. Grace Ayanleke reports that the Commission used the occasion to adopt the birth date of the Nobel laureate, 13th of July, as Reading Day in Nigeria.
The 2024 World Book and Copyright Day, tagged Read Your Way, celebrates literature of all kinds while encouraging optimum reading enjoyment, especially as the reading culture is gradually threatened by prevailing shifts in the social, economic, and educational dynamics.
Reading is a culture, and if you want to stick to that culture, you just have to
continue.
Tangible literatures must be given to children. It's a strategic plan that in the school we are going to have a subject that is called reading.
Reading starts from the womb till various stages of life.
Establishing that reading is a foundation of oral learning, it is important that authors and creators are duly recognized and protected by the copyright laws. Thus, the Nigerian Copyright Commission (NCC) calls on the public to join in the fight against piracy.
In most of the schools, we have a copyright club.
You run away from fake drugs. But when you see cheap pirated books, you embrace them. But by reading a pirated book, you are taking away from what would have gone to the author.
Embarking on an inclusive reading campaign, visually impaired students also read to the audience. In recognition of his contribution to the literary world, this year's Book and Copyright Day is dedicated to Nobel laureate and UNESCO Goodwill Ambassador, Professor Wole Soyinka, on the occasion of his 90th birthday. In Ibadan, Grace Anyolike, NTA News.
Looking away from education now, constant training for professionals in procurement and infrastructure development is essential for improved service delivery. This was the position at the opening of a 3-day training on contract management by the Association for Consulting Engineering in Nigeria. Ayodeji Makinde reports.
3.
The 3-day training on contract management of FIDIC 2017 Red Book, with the highlights of its 1999 first edition, is to equip the bank's project implementation unit personnel with international contract management skills. It is also to proactively manage and anticipate future needs, as well as react to situations promptly as they arise. With about 355 projects being funded by the World Bank across Africa and a commitment of $58 billion, it is believed that enhancing the capacity of those handling the contracts with new skills will make such projects efficient and effective. The Association for Consulting Engineering in Nigeria, which was founded in 1971 and registered in 1979, is a body of registered independent private engineering consultancy firms. It is also voice of the profession in the country towards strengthening consulting engineering practice, ensure that the highest level of technical competence and business ethics are brought to bear on the practice of the profession.
We need to be quite knowledgeable on these conditions of contract. Sometimes we just pick them up and use them while not knowing that these things need to be really, you really need to be guided and trained on them.
Part of ACEN's purview to make sure that we actually arrive at where we should, which is to have a nation where infrastructure is sustainable. We want quality, we want it to be implemented correctly.
Participants are from Nigeria, the Gambia, and the English-speaking parts of Cameroon. In Abuja, Ayodeji Makinde, NTA News.
The need for continuous learning in a dynamic and rapidly evolving professional landscape characterized by technological innovation, globalization, and shifting market trends has been emphasized. This was the view of speakers at the second session of the 2024 mandatory continuing professional development training organized in Port Harcourt for members of the Association of National Accountants of Nigeria from the South Zone. Nkuru Onyejesi reports.
With the theme, Risk Management in Public Finance, the training aimed to review technological impact on public finance risk assessment, fiscal sustainability, and social risk management. The training provided a platform for professionals to enhance their knowledge, skills, and competencies in various areas relevant to the profession. There were lectures on environmental and social risk management in public finance, artificial intelligence and machine learning, and internal controls and public finance risk assessment and management.
There are sport shifts, in public finance risk management from traditional methodologies globally.
So when we say small shift, we are simply saying that there are certain things that have triggered and has occurred, that has shifted attention from traditional risk management methods over the years to what is in vogue and what is happening. This is the Jersey age.
While government is planning to spend public money, they should not meet risk on the way. Even if they meet, it should be minimal. There are permissible risks, because in everything we do there are risks. Such risk should be minimal. That's what we are impacting.
Make sure that the accounting system is done according to the rules and regulation of generally accepted accounting principle.
I already have knowledge of accounting. I'm in final account for some time and I'm practicing accounts. So this will enable me to do well in society.
My schedule of duty automatically will change. I will now work as a professional, no longer as an ordinary.
The climax of the event was the induction of 258 new members. In Port Harcourt, Gabriel Amunike, NTA News.
Away from Port Harcourt now, Africa is providing a premium networking ground fertile for exchange of ideas, whilst catalyzing shared prosperity for owners, investors, employees and stakeholders through the International Hospitality, Tourism and Eco-Sustainability Forum. Gufan Shaji Ugwanye reports that the 7th edition of the forum showcased an expo on driving the green economy to improve hospitality and tourism in Nigeria.
I'd like to declare this event open.
This now sets the pace for the conversation for hospitality influencers and critical policymakers to brainstorm on areas to improve the hospitality and tourism sector in Nigeria.
We want to ensure that we reduce the carbon that we emit throughout our value chain. We have a net zero commitment to reach net zero by 2040. Aside from emission reduction, the next focus is on water use and stewardship.
ITEF has in the last 8 years focused on building and providing standards in the hospitality industry.
So what do we want to achieve? The world is going sustainable and we cannot afford to do anything that is unsustainable. So we're talking about sustainability in the hospitality sector. How do we manage the resources efficiently?
The second was the legal requirement to obey laws which are coming in terms of climate and your carbon footprint and energy use and water use and all these things.
It's an opportunity to learn and also to ensure that we put in place sustainable practices.
And I believe that if the states are more conscious, they can also develop their assets and set up tourism programs that attract more Nigerians into their own states. And we have states who are doing that. Akwa Ibom is doing that. Ekiti is doing that. Lagos is a hotspot. Everybody gets in there. All those things are done by the state. And I believe that the states can do more to promote tourism in Nigeria.
This year's ITEF Forum is tagged Emerge Together, Reimagining a Green Hospitality Economy, links with SDG 11 to bring about a hospitality circular economy, effective resource maximization, green finance, human resource roles in managing Gen Z workforce, quality skills and standards for a new hospitality economy. In Abuja, Gufan Shaji Ugwanye, NTA News.
More commercials need to breathe at this point. Remain tuned. Time for more news as the stakeholders in Nigeria's tax space under the Joint Tax Board say automation of the nation's tax processes is a sure way to expanding the nation's tax base and growing tax to GDP from 10 to 18% in a few years. This was at a strategic retreat for staff of Joint Tax Board in Abuja. Benny Adams reports.
It is an era of revenue generation where the culture of collaboration, innovation, and responding to emerging challenges in the tax space for increased revenue takes center stage.
So as to start with, how do we view tax at the constitutional level?
For the Joint Tax Board, an addition of foresight and efficiency using technology are drivers for impact. Hence the gathering of these foot soldiers towards the actualization of ongoing fiscal policy and tax reforms.
At the Joint Tax Board, we've been engaging the different state revenue authorities
and how we can support them to automate their processes so that they can deliver more to the citizenry and to the residents of the states. Because when the state government has more revenue, it can do more. It can fund education more. It can provide better healthcare. It can provide better roads. It can provide security for the people. So we'll be engaging them, we've been organizing trainings. We've also been looking at how we can support them in bespoke areas.
Ume Nwosu Collins is a tax administration and compliance officer at the Joint Tax Board. He says acquiring the requisite knowledge needed to contribute to efficiency in tax receipts is his target.
Have a system where people can pay their taxes, they understand the number of taxes to be paid, and it's clear. Of course, it will encourage investment in the country.
Stakeholders say they are committed to initiatives towards improving tax administration in Nigeria. In Abuja, Benny Adams, NTA News.
And I got Benny right here with me in the studio. He's got more news. Benny, feed us.
Thank you, Yere. And now talking business. The National Bureau of Statistics says it is closer to completing a national strategy for the development of statistics, which will cover year 2024 to 2028. At a validation workshop on the draft national strategy for the development of statistics, phase 3, stakeholders are optimistic that besides providing mechanisms for a holistic reform of the national statistical system, the new document will continue to help ministries, departments, agencies, and private sector make evidence-based policy and national development planning.
Agenda, including the Sustainable Development Goals (SDG) and the African Union Agenda 2063, the NSDS 2024 to 2028 is poised to guide the statistical system to generate data that adequately monitors and track progress towards the realization of these development agendas.
We shall be willing to assist them based on the referral before me as the chairman of that committee to see how they can be removed from the envelope.
Now, the Nigerian Extractive Industries Transparency Initiative, NAITI, says work is being concluded on the 2022-2023 Extractive Industries Report, which focuses on impact of the Petroleum Industry Act as it relates to domestic resource mobilization and ways to unleashing the potential of the solid mineral sector. Addressing journalists on the level of implementation of AITI processes, Executive Secretary of NAITI, Dr. Oji Ogbonnaya Oji, revealed that Nigeria is set to close to score more than 100 points in next validation of the sector.
By September 2024, God willing, we should be publishing those reports, and at that time, NAITI will be, the procurement process for 2024 would have been concluded, because our two reports will now bring us up to date, and we will only have 2024 to deal with immediately in 2025. For this report to be error-free, of course, we scored 92% in data access and reliability in the last validation. We want to surpass that standard. We have deployed automated technology, the NAITI audit management system, fully to automate, to completely insulate human interference in this process. So the oil and gas report is on, and the solid minerals report also on.
And a quick look at markets. At the end of today's trading session on the exchange, investors lost 673.16 billion naira as the all-share index declined by 1.20%. A total of 395.7 million shares in 7,907 deals, corresponding to a market value of 9.576 billion naira, were traded. Today's data shows 13% decline in volume, 32% improvement in turnover, and 8% improvement in deals. The current market capitalization is 55.5 trillion naira. Guarantee Trust Holding recorded the highest volume of 81.4 million traded shares, followed by Zenith Bank 46.2 million and United Bank for Africa 41.6 million. Well, that is business news. News Extra continues.
Many thanks, Benny, for the updates. Let's also give you some security stories now, as the Nigerian military has destroyed several indigenous people of Biafra, IPOB and Eastern Security Network camps in the southeast. Defense correspondent Ismail Musa on a media tour to the zone organized by the Defense Media Operation reports that the ongoing operation is restoring peace and stability in the zone.
The people have just deserted. You should expect that business will not go there.
Olu in Imo State, one of the former strongholds of terror groups, is blessed with fertile land that supports its evergreen vegetation and forest. On the upside, this huge natural endowment provides a source of income to the residents. But on the downside, it is a cover for IPOB and the Eastern Security Network criminal groups threatening lives and socioeconomic activities in the southeast.
No more sit at home now in Olu now. At least people are walking around, selling their market. No more sit at home in Olu.
A drive from Enugu through Olu in Imo State and Azia in Ihiala local government area of Anambra State reveals deployment of armed forces personnel, keeping an eagle eye on the communities in the zone to introduce the criminals to the darkest moment of their illicit trade.
All these villages around here were deserted before we finally occupied this place. It's not over yet. Most of the kinetic aspect of the operations have been reduced. We are mostly into the non-kinetic aspect of the operation to ensure that people have the courage and confidence to come back to their houses and continue with their normal lives.
With different forward operation base, units and checkpoints, the military is on alert to ensure aggressive rapid response to security threats from IPOB and the Eastern Security Network.
The last operation we conducted was at Mbitoli, that's B44 camp, where we were able to exhume some corpses after we captured the camp because we saw that they were freshly dug graves.
To complement these operations, the military has also upscaled non-kinetic operations to win the hearts and minds of the people to enhance provision of intelligence reports.
We try to have these engagements with the opinion leaders, and a good number of the state government were able to make that pronouncement. And the military, the Joint Task Force on its own, was able to provide that secured environment for anybody to go and do whatever he wants, any day, anytime.
The military enjoined residents of the southeast to see the ongoing tasks to further secure the zone as a collective responsibility by providing timely intelligence reports to promote proactive response by security agencies. This is Akuma in Olu local government area of Imo State, one of the former stronghold of the IPOB following upscaled operation of the armed forces. The area is enjoying relative peace. From Akuma in Olu local government area of Imo State, Ismail Musa, NTA News.
Meanwhile, in collaboration with the Multinational Joint Task Force, MNJTF, the air component of Operation Hadinkai and the Nigerian Air Force have destroyed terrorist hideouts in Damask and Moba local government areas of Borno State. In a statement by NAF Director of Public Relations, Air Commodore Edward Gapquet, the terrorists had attempted to attack troops of Sector 4 of the MNJTF at Lada, a border town between Niger Republic and Nigeria, but were repelled, fleeing across the border into Nigeria. The fleeing terrorists, who were on 8 motorcycles, were later tracked to 2 locations situated at Zazari village, about 28 kilometers east of Damask, and Mala Alide in Moba local government area of Borno State. The subsequent airstrikes under the watchful eye of Niger's intelligence surveillance reconnaissance aircrafts struck the terrorist locations real-time. ISR footage later confirmed numerous terrorists were eliminated and several structures within the targeted areas destroyed. Away from security matters now, the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission says it is intensifying the fight against corruption in the country and remains resolute in scaling impediments on its way to achieving its mandate. The chairman of the commission, Ola Olukoyede, says this new impetus has yielded results as almost 12 billion naira was recovered with more than 1,600 convictions secured since he assumed office.
The eagle in the EFCC symbol seems to have zeroed its eyes on executives who have abused their offices by diverting funds earmarked for the people. A bold resolve that may meet resistance. This has become evident to the Commission's helmsman. He says he is not sweating.
If EFCC fails, I've not failed. Though. I've never failed and I won't fail. It is all of us. It is Nigeria that has failed. If we lose this battle, it's not about Ola Olukoyede. Neither is it about any of my officers here. It's about all of us.
The chairman reveals that Nigeria is facing a staggering onslaught of cybercrime, where more than 70% of the country's companies became victims, leading to the loss of $706 million. This, he says, requires all hands on deck to combat corruption in the country.
Do you know now all over the world that cybercrime is the third largest GDP, attracts the third largest GDP in the world? Go and do your research. Attracts as much as $14 trillion, the third largest GDP, after US, China, is cybercrime. And you want us to sit down here and close our eyes to that?
On the prosecution of former Kogi State Governor Yahaya Bello, the chairman reveals that the commission has followed due process to ensure that the former governor honors the commission's invitation, but he declined and chose to run from the law.
We are not stopping there. It's been watch-listed all over the world. It can only run. Let the whole public hear. We are building a case against those who obstructed justice. You are sitting, you have immunity today, you won't have immunity forever.
Meanwhile, to match words with action, the commission handed over 14 properties to Enugu State government, following a final forfeiture of the properties to federal government by the courts.
The ceding of these assets back to the state will deploy them to the benefit of the people of Enugu State.
While the fight against corruption is a collective responsibility, the EFCC says it will continue to beam its searchlights on all sectors of the economy.
Let's turn our attention to road safety matters now, as the Federal Road Safety Corps says it recorded 42% decrease in road traffic crashes during the Easter celebration and 42.5% reduction in road traffic crashes during the 2024 Eid al-Fitr celebration compared to that of 2023. FRSC Corps Marshal Dauda Ali Bill disclosed this while relaying how the Corps fared during the Easter and Salah special patrol. Oyeyemi Ajay has the details.
Easter and Eid al-Fitr could have come and gone, but the activities during that time cannot be totally erased. For the Federal Road Safety Corps, it is time to read out this call sheet. For the 2024 Easter Special Patrol, the Corps recorded 62 road traffic crashes as against 107 in the same period in 2023, representing 42% decrease. These crashes involved 417 people in 2024, in contrast to 705 in the previous year, aside reduction in fatalities which had 33 victims killed in 2024 against 81 in 2023, and this represents 59.3% reduction. Similarly, during the Eid al-Fitr Special Patrol, the Corps recorded 42.5% reduction in road traffic crashes, 39.6% reduction in number of people involved, and 52.5% reduction in number of people killed, with 32.6% decrease of number injured, while achieving 43.8% reduction in number of people rescued without injuries.
Added to the conventional enforcement of traffic regulation on these trailers drivers, we have gone a further step by commencing prosecution of recalcitrant drivers through mobile court operation in 36 of the Federation and the FCT. Passengers must always realize that they have the right to speak of any time driver refuses to complain with safety regulation while on transit.
As regards reduction in crashes by long vehicles conveying humans, animals and goods, the commercial urged the interagency joint task force to sustain the tempo and advocated jail term without option of fine for drivers and vehicle owners who constitute risk to passengers. Oyeyemi Ajayi, NTA News.
Another break is due. Stay. Transportation is said to be the backbone of any economy. In the light of this, stakeholders say an integrated national policy to effectively drive the transport sector is crucial. Amaka Owo reports that this was the central message at a roundtable on transport infrastructure and strategic policy intervention in Lagos, the Global Transport Policy magazine, which was launched.
With just 6 years from the Sustainable Development Goals SDGs number 11.2 deadline, which centers on affordable and sustainable transport system for the year 2030, stakeholders say Nigeria is yet to leverage logistics and geographic advantage to become a global logistic and transport hub. Representatives of the Minister of Aviation and Aerospace Development, Governor of Lagos State, and security chiefs identified Nigerians as the most traveled on the African continent.
In Nigeria, the federal government recognizes the importance of a robust and efficient transportation system in driving our nation towards sustainable development.
The Nigerian Navy is going to do all it takes to provide an enabling environment for proper and effective utilization of the sea and its resources.
The Nigerian Police Force ensures security of transportation system, which is vital to the successful development and integration of the nation.
In Lagos State, we understand the pivotal role that efficient transport systems play in fostering development, connectivity, and prosperity for our people.
28 states have access to water transportation. This roundtable, therefore, is also for the pursuit of sustainable transport development agenda, with emphasis on leveraging technology and contributions of the public, private sectors, as well as inputs from professionals and other partnerships.
If we are to develop an economy, there must be a driver, a motive force, and a starting torque, and transportation serves as one. It is when you have an effective transport system and you have a policy that can drive it, that is when you begin to grow your economy.
After power, transportation is the next critical thing for the economy. And the government has a lot to do. But the government's role is to create the enabling environment by creating the infrastructure. But it's the private sector that needs to take the lead on the other side of it.
By 2050, we're supposed to be the 15th largest economy, and by 2075, we're supposed to be the 5th largest economy with a GDP of about $13.1 trillion, not Naira.
Lagos and Nigeria in particular need to think about how to move people en masse from one point to the other, and to ensure that people are not captive to one mode.
Pertinent areas of focus were raised by panel of discussants, with commendations given to the Lagos State government for achievements in the rail and water mode of transportation as viable alternative means to meet travel demands of the populace. For these industry observers, the national transport policy is achievable in the next 6 months. The roundtable also captured the launch of the bilingual Global Transport Policy magazine.
In Lagos, Amaka Owo, NTA News.
We've got more news shortly. Let's now have a bit on sports.
Ahead of the World Athletics Relay in Bahamas between May 4th and 5th, 2024, Athletics Federation of Nigeria has disclosed that world champion Tobi Amusa, Favour Ofili, Udodi Onwuzurike, Chidi Okezie, Samson Nathaniel, amongst others, will represent the country at the Caribbean country. The team will strive to be among the best 14 finishers to secure a lane in Paris 2024 for the first time since Beijing 2008. Meanwhile, the Nigerian Football Federation has inaugurated 5 subcommittees to further ensure the smooth running of the federation. The president of the Nigerian Football Federation, Ibrahim Guzo, while inaugurating the committee on Wednesday in Abuja, charged the various committees to work assiduously in the overall interest of football development in the country.
My charge to them is to try to be patriotic and try to be honest in whatever they are going to do and try to be confidential because it's very important in whatever you are going to do. You cannot just come and have a meeting before it is officially made public.
And that's our package on News Extra tonight. Many thanks for being a part of it. Do have a good night.